I went through extreme cold weather survival training. I did not like that. Please don't send me somewhere cold. I will tap out in the first 4 seconds. No, I won't. But I don't like being cold, okay? Throw me in the desert somewhere. I exhibit a lot of the qualities people associate with masculinity. A veteran, come from a military family. I like doing outdoor stuff. I'm also really empathetic. I'm the kind of person people go to if they're facing their own issues. Growing up, I was raised in rural Missouri on a small farm. I had a single father who really let my brother and I kind of run wild in the woods. I joined the Army when I was 17 years old, and I spent some time in active duty. I was able to learn an incredible amount of skills. SEER school, combat tracking. I'm blessed to have a healthy body and a healthy mind. But my friend, she's differently abled, and she said, I want to live vicariously through you. I want you to do the challenge, and who am I to say no? My personal nightmare partner would be somebody who's just going through the motions of survival. We should be having some fun. My curiosity is what drives me to learn more survival skills. Frequently, I'm acquiring new skills just because I'm already out in the woods. I might as well do something with my time. I downloaded an app to help me identify mushrooms. The skill that I'm most excited to show off is my ability to weave cordage. Weaving cordage, it helps you can build a bow drill, fabricate clothing, lash your shelter together. Guess what else I can do? I can find clay, so we have earthenware to eat out of. I can start a fire in multiple ways with primitive tools. I can filter water and I can purify water. I've managed to spear a rabbit with a thrown spear. My strategy for this challenge is to find water, shelter, fire, food. And as long as we have those 4 things taken care of, we're going to be on vacation, baby. The hardest thing I've had to go through was the loss of my father. I had moved back home after the Army. I knew his health wasn't great, and I decided I wanted to, spend time there. So I went back to grad school and lived at my house with my dad, and he passed away during that time. So I grew up being told that a gentleman does not get tattoos. One day, my dad came home with a couple of prison tats on his shoulders. My name on his left shoulder in red, and my brother's name on his right shoulder in green. And he said in the Navy, there's a red light on the port side and a green light on the starboard side. Said in the Navy, those lights guided my life. After the Navy, it's you boys. When my dad got sick the first time, I went out to a tattoo parlor and I got DAD written on the port side where my name is on his body. I came home and I said, Dad, I got a tattoo. And he goes, God damn it. And he just goes, that's pretty neat. No matter how tough it's going to get, I'll be the one that's picking my partner up and carrying them through the finish line. Tapping is not an option for me. This game, this challenge, is going to be a slam dunk for me.
If somebody were to ask me what my spirit animal is or something that represents me, I would say the honey badger. And I say that because they're resourceful, protective, and they will take on any challenge that's in front of them. In the last 8 years since I have lost my limbs, I have become the first woman to summit the Manitou Incline, the first female bilateral amputee to crawl to the summit of Pikes Peak twice. I am also the first woman in the world to reach the summit of one of the 7 summits of the world, Mount Kilimanjaro. And I am also the first bilateral amputee to reach the summit of Mount Cerro Tusa, which is the world's tallest natural pyramid.
Made it to the summit of Cerro Tusa. Let's turn this around so you guys can see our view.
A good portion of how I'm able to do everything that I do is a little bit out of spite. Right here on my chest, I have tattooed, tell me that I can't, and I will show you that I can. I was struck by a train on July 26th of 2014. I had lost both of my limbs just above the knee. I awoke in a hospital room and I was still intubated. It took 6 nurses to hold me down as I tried clawing the intubation out of my mouth. I remember writing down fall, ? Trip, ? ? So there in the hospital bed with this paper and pen that I had, I remember I wrote down LT. Dan for Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump. I fell into a very dark depression. At one point, I had gained so much weight that I weighed probably 150, 160 pounds without limbs. One day, I still hadn't healed yet. I was sitting on the living room couch watching TV, probably the Discovery Channel. My father came out of the bedroom and he looked at me and just stopped. And he said, "You're never going to amount to anything." Shortly after that, in 2016, I moved to Colorado Springs, Colorado. I want this challenge because I get to apply skills that I have. Before I could even walk, my father would put me up on his shoulders and we would go morel hunting. My father taught me a lot about the outdoors. When it comes to shelter building, I'm going to prioritize insulation. I have built A-frame lean-to. I have done a raised bed. I've also done a dugout. I have done hand drill and bow drill. I'm actually not at all worried about eating out there. For one, I have a vantage point that's closer to the ground, and so game trails are much easier for me to see, which makes my trapping ability quite more successful. And I'm not afraid to eat bugs. I've also foraged my entire life, and so I'm very familiar with different wild edibles. I have the ability to field dress. I can butcher. I also know how to make some primitive tools and ways of primitive cooking. I feel like my mental fortitude comes from self-reliance. Hands down, pun intended, one of my greatest strengths is absolutely being adaptive. Every single thing that I do, I have to approach in a little bit of a different capacity. I'll be quite honest with you, not a whole lot of people treat me as if I can't do anything anymore. I've proven time and time again that I can. I will be doing this challenge without my prosthetic limbs, just like I have done any other challenge in the past several years, and I would do that on my hands and my rear. Naked and afraid. I have literally shown that glass ceilings can shatter from sitting on the ground. I have been through more than you can fathom, and I still intend to go out there and absolutely annihilate this challenge, crawling across that finish line.
Any opportunity, and I try to live my life with attitude of gratitude and being humble, but there's always room for more. So if someone's serving humble pie, I don't want a piece, I want the whole thing. I am an extreme perfectionist. I have to cut my grass twice a week because if it gets just a little bit above the edge line, I can't have it. My energy exudes out. It's almost like there's this animal that just comes out. I love putting someone on the spot, being a little bit of a prankster. The reason why I want to be on Naked and Afraid, aside from the physical challenge and the mental challenge and that part, is just to grow. When I'm struggling, I literally go back to my why, which are my two girls. If I can consistently continue to grow, not only for myself to be a better parent, but it's going to translate to them. One thing that gets under my skin is when people give excuses. It gets to a certain point where if it just keeps going and going and going, Mama Bear is going to come out and she's going to get ferocious and her face is going to get ugly. When I was 24 years old, I decided to join the Marine Corps. I was a combat engineer deployed to Iraq. We got to do a lot of wood frame construction, and that is what kind of got me triggered into learning more about shelter building. I like to see how I can take these pieces of whatever's given to me and what can I construct with that. And I think the key to starting the fire, keeping it going, it's a combination of things. Like, you have to be patient. You have to be able to adapt to what is around you, because the weather, it's going to do whatever it wants to do. Some of the ways that I know I would be able to get food, trap fish in the water, being able to build that wall where they swim right in, but they can't swim out, carve a spear, either 2-prong, 4-prong, be able to stab, whether it's a snake, whether it's a fish, either so we can hold it in place and then get that machete, cut its head off, and then we can skin it, skewer it, put it on the fire, and eat it for dinner. Being naked on this show, my funny side will want to come out. I'll want to pull a prank or something, just because, like, I deal with uncomfortable moments with humor. Being in the military, such as combat engineers, it was not the easiest situation. And so maybe that is where some of the mental toughness came from too. You just have to continue to push. I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to teach myself how to do that. I'm going to learn how to do that. It would eat me alive if I gave up knowing, well, what if I just went one more hour? What if I went one more day? Because again, it taps back to that mental game of I can get through this. So as long as they're not making me tap out, I've got this. And that's what I have to keep in my mind. Naked and Afraid, I feel like this show was meant for someone like me. And that is what I am looking so forward to, getting the opportunity to try that and having some fun along the way.
I am so crazy for Naked and Afraid. I admin True Fans on Facebook. I admin on the official, unofficial fan group page on Facebook. I have watched every episode multiple times. I've seen all the XLs, LOS, Castaways. I've met them. I went on the Naked and Afraid cruise. I am not just a keyboard warrior. I am the warrior. Been a police officer. This is a way of life. It's something to do that's beyond yourself. I've been in the Army for 28 years. I want to be able to show people I can do it. What I am is a fan who embraces the culture. It's not about just watching a show. It's not a show. And Matt Garland by far is like my favorite survivalist. And that's coming really close to Gabby and Kai because they're super high on that list. I learned by camping. I've been doing this since I was a kid. When I was a boy, the only way to get away from an abusive house with drugs and alcohol in it was to leave for the weekend on my own. I hunted for small game on my own. I fished so I could eat. It was anything to not go home. When I was homeless, I had to get 3 jobs just to try to get food. But when I wasn't working and when I was alone and I was living under a water tower, I had to get food. So if it meant I had to go fishing and start a fire, that's what I did. When I look at getting food, I'm going to be foraging and fishing. Spearfish, real fish, I'll corral fish. I want to be able to find those small game and trap those. I love making shelter. So I like to build like an A-frame that comes out wide, but then that still has a door that closes. You know, I like the hand drill over the bow drill. I like making tools. Like I like building a pole with a hook on it to grab things out of trees so I don't have to climb. Being the level of Naked and Afraid fan that I am, my mental toughness. It comes from being a police officer and seeing people on the worst day of their lives and having to comfort them, to protect them. When you do that and you take care of others, it makes you stronger. I've already suffered personally, professionally, myself and with my family. I know I'm gonna make it through. Naked and Afraid, I may be 48, but I am a man half that age. I'm about making it. I am going to be the best fan, the best move out of me that no one has ever seen before. I definitely think I have an edge. There's absolutely no fan out there who knows more about Naked and Afraid than I do.
I exude squirrel energy, and squirrels I think are the best tree climbers. Tree climbing is the ultimate flow state. You know, it's a little bit dangerous, but it's also really relaxing. I have a really strong drive to share my passions with the world, connecting people with nature. I would define my leadership style as confident. I've gotten really used to standing in front of groups of people and kind of hurting them. It's really about the tone of your voice so that people want to listen. People with big egos really infuriate me. For instance, I am the 7th woman in the world to be a MoveNat level 3 instructor, but I still feel quite humble about that. One of the principles of natural movement is to train your abilities in a variety of different circumstances. I think that this challenge would be the true test of the adaptability of my skills. Some of the things that really give me comfort in the outdoors is that I have spent a lot of time solo backpacking to 43 different national parks. I think my skill set will allow me to get to more places that might not be easily accessible. My connection to the land is a bit deeper. I think that through that connection, the land can much better support you. Myself getting food, I kind of would be more of a forager. I always find things when I'm out hiking or walking through the woods that a lot of people don't even see. Like it'll be, you know, this moth blending in with tree bark and they're like, oh my God, how did you see that? And I think that when it comes to obtaining food, that could be really helpful. I have made fire with a hand drill and bow drill. I can definitely make shelters, lean-to, A-frame. My feet are pretty dang tough. I go barefoot all the time. On a micro scale, I think my mental toughness has really come from a lot of outdoor experiences that have really kind of pushed my limits. I absolutely thrive under pressure. It's kind of more of an intuitive sense where I just say, hey, I'm doing this, and I do it and my body knows how to do it. I won't tap out on this challenge because it is something I've already decided that I'm going to do and prove to myself that I can do it. The vibe that I'm bringing to Naked and Afraid is an authentic self that is contagious, that I think a lot of people really enjoy seeing because it is rare to find in today's world. It's the tree climbing girl. Oh my god, there she goes up the tree again. Look at her.
I feel like I've got a bit of a personal connection to Naked and Afraid. My husband's recently just completed on the challenge and I just feel that it's now my turn. I can definitely say that my way of doing things is a lot more entertaining. For me, doing this challenge, it is about me proving to people that I'm not what they may expect me to be. But deep down, I don't think that's really who I am. I do have a voice, I do have opinions. I want a chance to prove to people that you might think this little mouse is coming along when in actual fact, I'm a lion. An aesthetics practitioner for facial aesthetics, I like making people feel good about themselves, help them feel more confident. It just makes me feel really happy that I can do that. Something different that I bring to the show is just probably the silly way that I'll do things. My mum actually has a book on me that's called Jennyisms. I think we were watching Braveheart and they were fighting on the horses, swords and everything. And I felt really bad for the horses and I just said, why didn't they just use bikes? I do watch the show often and I kind of scream and think, why aren't you doing this? Why isn't your fire bigger? Some people that go on there are just out for themselves and they're clearly not a team player. It annoys me when people go in overconfident. They think their way's right all the time. And usually they're the ones that tap. My husband always says to me that, you know, you're stronger than that. I think this is like an amazing opportunity for me to actually prove that to myself. And I just think that this would be the perfect opportunity to do that. I've loved the outdoors since I was a child. When I met Stephen, that's when I got my love back for it again. I think our first date was actually walking through the woods, identifying plants. He's pretty much taught me everything I know. His knowledge and what he's taught me, I know that is enough to help me survive out there. I love building shelters. I can build an A-frame, lean-to, dangle, mangle, tangle and strangle. I can make any traps. I think to get through this challenge, we need to have a plan that we both agreed on, set our daily tasks for each day, and then, you know, take it a day at a time. I'm a lot tougher than I give myself credit for. There was a time in my life when I cared for my nan who had dementia, and that went on for many years, but it just goes to tell me that I'm a lot more mentally strong than I think I am. Knowing that I would never quit and that I would make it to the end of the 21 days is because there would be so many people watching me. If I'm on my own, I'll quit straight away. But knowing that so many people are going to watch, I wouldn't stop. Another reason I want to do this challenge is because I did miss out on my honeymoon. When my husband did his challenge, it was while we were supposed to be on honeymoon. So I feel like this time I need to be able to go and have that break away from him and let him suffer without a holiday with me.
I want to do this 21-day challenge for myself because I know I can and everybody else tells me that I can't. And I love when people tell me I can't do something because it just drives me to get it done in the best, most crazy, awesome, blow expectations out of the water way possible. I've always been a really big outdoors guy. I like to be able to do it on my own, kind of go back to the roots of where we came from, you know? I mean, we had to make fire when we were in caves. You know, I think that's a lost art that people just don't respect anymore. I'm an outdoorsman, you know, I hunt, I fish. I like to be able to take care of myself. And that's just, it's something that I've had a passion for a long time. I'm trying to get everything I can out of this experience. I mean, being away and secluded in the middle of nowhere, naked, I mean, that's like the most getting to know yourself and your spirit and all that thing. Nobody has that opportunity anymore. This is the only chance that I'm gonna have this opportunity. And I'm gonna jump all over it. My ideal survival partner, definitely somebody who's confident and knows what they're doing. I mean, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. I mean, a lot of people talk a big game, but they don't have the know-how to back it up, and that aggravates me. If my partner tapped out, I would definitely stay. I'm not going to be that guy that gives up on national television. I'm not that guy. And for me personally, that's not my personality, that's not my attitude. You know, if I have an objective, I go for it and I get it done. I have a tendency to bite off more than I can chew, but I always get it down. Nothing's going to make me tap out in these 21 days. I know you hear people say this all the time. You've never met me before, okay? It's a personal goal of mine to get this done. I mean, this is a huge thing. If I think I can do anything. There's nothing that I can't do, period. And this is an excellent test for me to prove that to myself.
I would call myself pansexual. I don't think that somebody needs to be male, female, trans, gay, lesbian for me to be attracted or love them. Always worked in the service industry, whether it's at a restaurant or at my bed and breakfast. My partner says I'm really bad about thinking about myself. She says I put other people first. I suppose I am a caretaker. I think when people meet me, nobody would have any idea that I like to go on adventure hikes barefoot. My ex of 13 years, he was a big, giant man baby. I have worked with a lot of man babies as well. When Heidi and I did get together, a few people were really surprised, but some people thought I had always been bi. But there were some people that were like, I knew it all along. Serious man babies. I like to test myself. I like to be in areas that I put myself in. I think it's beautiful. I think it's very unforgiving. But if you are patient and you're humble, then that wilderness can be forgiving. Yeah, if I'm really hungry and I'm excited to eat, I might look a little bit crazy. So I have caught squirrels by scaring them into a wood pile, and then you shove a long stick into the wood pile to where you know they are, and then it scares them into the trap. As a kid, we were in a community with a lot of people that wanted to share their survival skills. We were shown how to start fire with sticks, how to skin animals, how to make pouches out of leather. I remember weaving a basket and thinking it was so cool that I wore it on my head for a while. I have been a camp host in the backcountry for a guide service. I'm a pretty decent forager. If I were on Naked and Afraid, I think I could trap some animals. When it comes to shelter, I can build lean-tos. I'm pretty good with a knife, pretty good with an axe. I can hike barefoot. I can hand fish. Extremely mentally tough. I think it comes from genetics, maybe being a middle child. I will get through the hardest of times by trying my best to stay busy, keep an eye on the prize. Naked and Afraid, I already like to be naked and out in the outdoors. I like to eat grasshoppers. I'll eat some cockroaches. I'll find some water to drink, and I'll help my partner get through it. All right, let's go.
I have a Planet Fitness membership, and first Monday of the month, they do free pizza. Why are we giving people pizza if they're supposed to be getting in shape? Why isn't it like salads? Makes no sense. I bring my friend who's trying to get in shape there, and he's about 250. And what does he look at when he walks in the door? Pepperoni and sausage. I don't know when America we got so soft. I do think I'm a very good looking guy. I tell the guys at work to not do what I do. They might get sexual harassment or get kicked out of the job. Because I'm good looking, a few of my jokes and a little bit of my stuff I can get away with. I'm that guy. If I say something, I'm going to do it. Very honorable. Dignity is big. My word is everything. Love the outdoors. Can't get enough of it. I'm actually an avid snowboarder, going snowboarding tomorrow. Going to Tijuana actually Tuesday on a fishing trip. There ain't too many brothers outdoors. I don't think brothers like the cold. When I live in Seattle, I've been in the cold my whole life. I do watch Naked and Afraid all the time. One of the guys on the show that I really looked up to was Max. I actually follow him on Instagram, and he does all the same things I do. He snowboards, he fishes, he hikes, and I just love to see another just black man putting it down. Being mixed race is actually tougher than a lot of people think. My black friends tell me I'm too white. My white friends tell me I'm too black. My daughter, she is my lifesaver, my guardian. Being a single dad is tough. It has its moments, but it keeps you stronger. It keeps you on your toes. She keeps me younger and witty. And she actually recorded me eating a worm last night, and she went out and picked more worms for me to eat, and I said, I'm only going to eat one worm, baby. I don't need to eat any more worms. We've got enough takes with the worms. I want to take on the Naked Afraid challenge. I want to show my daughter that you can do anything. I want to test my strength. I want to face adversity, and I want to overcome. My survival skills, I guess they started fishing, and then it just kind of grew from that, from like fishing to camping to hunting to spear fishing. I'm going to eat. So if I got to make a trap, if I got to snare animal, I'll do that. If I got to throw a rock and hit a squirrel, I know I could forage for mushrooms, berries. Anywhere by water, you could forage for small crabs, mussels, clams. I've made a lot of different shelters, from igloos in the winter, lean-tos and A-frames off the coast with a whole bunch of driftwood, covered up as much so you can keep as much warmth. When it comes to fire, persistence is the key, especially if you're trying to do like a fire plow or a bow drill. You're usually not going to get it on your first time. You got to be persistent. I believe I'm very mentally strong. I've faced, plenty of adversity in my life. My mom and dad split early growing up. In high school, my mom had colon cancer. When I'm going through tough times and facing adversity, I just like to breathe. Take those deep breaths, clear your mind, and get back at it. I would never tap out. With people watching, my pride, my daughter would have to look and be like, Dad, you tapped. No, I couldn't. I would not fail. Naked and Afraid, it's Jarrell Banks. It's my turn. It's my turn. No more Max. They're going to start saying Jarrell. They're going to be like, man, who is that beautiful brother that lasted 21 days? They're going to be saying Jarrell, not Max.
I chose to go and have kind of like a side hustle of selling bull genetics simply because I was finding crop farming a little bit boring. And I thought, what better way to really diversify myself by selling genetics? Genetics comes in a straw about a quarter cc, and that is just your baby daddies. I would totally say I could annoy somebody with how happy I am, especially I'm a morning person. If you can't handle me, then you're best off to leave because I'm not about to dial down. I have a lot of energy. I like to keep busy. I always want to be doing something. People are so totally offended by everything. You can't even watch the news without someone being offended by the way someone crossed the street or the way somebody wore their jacket that particular day. Everyone's too sensitive about everything. Like, sometimes you just kind of have to toughen up. When people get like that, you just kind of have to level with them. I'm black and white. I'm very cut and dry. That's not everyone's cup of tea, but you're always going to know where you stand with me. I am a farmer, born and bred, 5th generation in my family. There is nothing more challenging in an occupation. You're going at all hours of the day. We've got millions of dollars in the field at the mercy of Mother Nature. She can decide at any point in time that now, that's over because your field's all hailed out. It doesn't matter what you think you want to do. You have to do things the way that Mother Nature tells you it's going to be done. I spend a typical day carrying, let's say, grain pails, shucking around bags of seed, trail cattle, chase cattle. If you're building fence, you're stuck in barbed wire or it's 40 degrees above zero. What I'm doing every day definitely has prepared me for this challenge. All the skill sets I get from the environment around me, all the identifying of plants, understanding animal behavior. My outdoor survival skills came from my dad, building fires and things of that nature, and I've self-taught myself. I have a real wondering mind. I wonder how to make things happen. I watch the show and I think, wow, that's so cool that these guys know how to do that, so I'll go out and figure it out. How am I going to get food on this challenge? I'm doing real well on foraging, on finding plants.
For here, we always have wild roses growing, so a good place to find some rose hips.
I'm not above digging around to see if you can find some grubs. I would probably try just about anything to get protein, throwing rocks at squirrels, at birds. The types of shelters that I've made, typically lean-tos or A-frames. My goal on a shelter, I think, would be to have yourself off the ground and a good solid roof. My other skills would definitely be water sourcing, purify it. Pretty handy at making tools, can MacGyver anything out of anything, it seems. I've built fence and used pieces of grass for staples when it doesn't work properly. Tightened wires with pieces of sticks. Smudge building, yes. Building a fire and then putting more green type material on it. So you're going to get a really thick smoke from it. And that is probably one of the best things you can do to keep bugs off of you. Mental toughness on this challenge is what is truly going to make or break it. The toughest days in my life, like my day-to-day life, when they're hard, they're really hard. You're talking watching your livelihood be swept away, or you can't get to it, or you're losing animals. Getting through stuff like that, you honestly just have to have the mental approach to life that things can always be worse. There is so little of what happens every day within your control, but you are 100% in control of your attitude, and you need to be able to laugh at yourself. Naked and afraid. I'm going to come on this challenge. I am going to crush it. And once I am home from my 21 days out in the wilderness, I'm going to go back to killing it in the fields, in the corrals, and out on the road selling bull semen. Let's get her done.
I really only believe there's one way to go about living life, and I believe that's to get all in. You either get in or you get out. Remember that you might die tomorrow, so live today to the fullest. But you also might make it to 80, so think about what you do, because you want to smile about it in the end, I think. I am a twin. He came out first. I've always had to grind, and he always seemed to get it a little easier than I did. So I just had to go and grasp everything that I could all over the place to maybe keep up. I do have a short attention span. It just kind of puts me all over the place. I want to be in the woods. I want to be over here setting traps. I want to be fishing, and I'm just everywhere. Some of the hippiest shit I do. We live outside in the wilderness and we don't take showers for a period of time. Sometimes we party naked in the river. Something amazing that has happened is I began to be able to smell things that I before have never smelled and can't explain to other people. Only a few rare at heart. Can smell when other animals are there, kind of like a dog. You can smell things, water, minerals, just you start seeing things differently, kind of like as if there was an aura around it or a guiding light putting you to where you want to go. Yeah, so I'm pretty much everything and anything. A jack of all trades and a master of none. I am a handyman by trade, eBay thrift store owner. I'm a combat veteran. I am one of few people to have a golden military buckle from 3-1 Cav. So I'm super prepared. I like to drop myself into the Ozarks and stay for about 2 weeks. I like to set traps for rabbits, squirrels, mice, deadfall traps. I will try to get anything I can. I'm really good at fishing. My favorite way to make fire is the magnesium block with a fire striker. And then you want to keep an extra amount of dry grass anywhere that you can. I'm talking like if you got it buried under a piece of wood, I don't care. My favorite shelter is to use live bearing trees, saplings that are about 1 inch, 2 inch around at the bottom, 10 foot tall. Keep a good solid structure that might not blow around too bad. I've been in the cold where it's negative 23 up in Fort Knox, Kentucky. That's where my basic training was at. And it was cold. And people dropped on the ground. We put them on our shoulders and we just sang songs until we got back. And when I say songs, I'm talking cadence, the kind that drives your soul home. I like to look at my mental toughness sometimes like a hard piece of steel. You know, sometimes you can be so hard that you break. My blood father didn't want to be around. He slammed a door in our face literally when we were 7, and my mom could only do so much there at the house. I think that's what makes my brother probably one of my best friends. I'm not going to give up. I know it's going to get hard. Naked and afraid, I am ready. I am ready to attack this and absorb every ounce of blood it's got to give to nourish my soul. I'm ready to show my children what it is and what I got and how far they can go. I have no problem being naked. I love it. If I could be naked all the time, I would. I do not have any ounce of give up in my soul. I want to know it down deep for that little boy inside of me who did not have much growing up and had to fight for everything that he's had to do. And daggum well is going to continue that all the way through this and more.
The warrior energy inside me came from birth. I was born to come into this world of fighter. I was born unresponsive, didn't breathe for 7 minutes. They called me the blue baby. I learned from a very young age. I am my own hero. Truly, I love connecting with other human beings. My mission is to help others. Getting into hair, especially at such a young age, absolutely a calling of mine. The role that I almost always find myself in is as a leader. I tend to lead people, help them find solutions. People that so easily quit. That's really frustrating to me. This challenge means so much to me because I like this pressurized state. That's my driving force for the challenge. And I really want to discover who I am on the other side of that moment. So the way I found myself drawn to nature was out of a need to escape the chaos in my house. And I had the incredible opportunity to go train with EJ Snyder for 4 days and Luke McLaughlin for 3 days. I loved the competitiveness with myself to really perform. The survival skills that I have are weapon making, small tools out of bone, cordage. I can do an A-frame, I can do a raised platform, debris hut, have trained on the bow drill. A fishing line and hook would be my preferred choice as far as a tool to bring with. My game plan to get through this challenge is going to be first communicating with my partner and getting that shelter built. So I am extremely comfortable with nudity. Most people who know me would call me a nudist. I had my best friend completely betray me. I found myself in probably one of the darkest places I've been. What I relied on is the disciplines that I had put into place, consistently getting up and working out. I have a high emotional intelligence, a crazy warrior spirit, no quit attitude. I know that through pain is power, and I seek that power. Recently, I had tattooed on my hand, "One more day." That is going to be my reminder on the challenge that I'm capable of giving it at least one more day. I want it because I want to inspire others that pain is temporary, that power comes at the end of it, and that if I can do it, they can do it too.
I would call myself an Asian redneck because most of my professional friends, they are greatly surprised when I'm taking time off to go on hunting trips out of state, gutting deer, camping and stuff. Probably the most Asian redneck you'll ever meet. I do ref football on the side, college for 4 years, fans complaining to me, coaches throwing stuff. Even if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter. Once my flag is out, I'm 100% right. I'm the kind of person that people tend to either love or hate. People that hate me get annoyed with the wisecracks I make. I'm too blunt a lot of times. It ticks a lot of people off, but it turns them back around eventually. I'm in sales for a reason. My cultural background means little to me. My dad is white as white can be. My mom, born and raised in South Korea. When I spend time outdoors, it makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something and kind of brings me back to the I do what I want when I want. I want to be on Naked and Afraid because I want another story that I will have for the rest of my life. My partner's going to have common sense. If she's argumentative, it is not going to work. I do have a very caring side. I have 5 sisters. I'm the only boy, so just raised that way. I'm the gift giver in the family, the one that puts the most thought in. My survival skills are lifelong. Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, ROTC in college, camping, hunting, hiking. I've always been outdoors. So my ideal way to get food is next to a water source, spearing fish, and building traps that can be working while I'm sleeping. I would build an A-frame shelter with 2 closed ends, ideally one end being blocked by a tree, so the other end I could set up a wind block so that fire could be there. That would be top priority day one. The way that I would build a fire, using a fire starter or a ferro rod, having backup dry wood. I know how to field dress game, how to prepare it in the wild, using certain food sources as bait for other food sources, and setting the traps, checking those on a regular basis, and adapting to the situation. So my mental toughness, I grew up in the projects, so we were very poor. I learned to live with what I have and make use of everything. Probably still consider myself a pack rat because I'm afraid to throw things away because I never know when I'm going to need it. So I believe that I would never tap out on a challenge because my friends and family, I would feel personally embarrassed to let them down. Naked and Afraid, you give me the chance, put me with a woman, we are going to be successful. I'm going to bring the fortitude, the mental capacity to raise her up, because I had to do that for 5 sisters. You think I can't do that for 3 weeks with one woman, and she's going to be there to help me along the way. No questions asked.
I'm 6'4", I'm 220, 225 pounds. biggest preconceived notion of me is that I'm just a big dumb jock. People look past the fact that I am extremely intelligent, and I'm also the world's biggest teddy bear. I don't like physical violence, but I was swimming about 4 days in the ocean, and just so happens a shark decided to come and check me out. I did, in fact, kick a shark in the head. I'm highly sarcastic. It might be where I was raised or how I just cope with shitty situations, but I just take the piss out of every single situation I'm in. You're either gonna love me or hate me, and that's not my problem. So I would like to say I'm a professional knucklehead. I enjoy doing things that are very abstract and out of the norm. I decided to go run a marathon pulling a car, and instead of swimming a normal triathlon, I decided to do a 3,600 mile one across the United States that involves fighting off a shark. The reason why I want to take on the Naked and Afraid challenge, I want to see what happens when we get put to these limits. I think the one thing I know about myself, and maybe a very cocky aspect, is I think I'm untouchable. I just want to find out what kills me. Top 3 biggest experiences in my life. Number 1, fighting in MMA for 10 years. And then hiking across Madagascar, tribes of bandits that wanted to kill us, crocodile infested rivers, and somehow survive that for 30 days. And the overall third one would be getting kidnapped in Egypt. I'm good at staying cool, calm, and collected and just rolling with the punches because there's really nothing else you can do. If I raise my voice to people who have guns, things do not go my way. I think when it comes to building shelter, I'm going to be able to grab things that nobody else can grab. If there's a giant stone that's 300 pounds, I can get that. And it's going to be either an A-frame or a debris shelter. If it comes to water and anything, I'm going to be able to get some food. If it comes towards swimming in the ocean and grabbing a conch or a mussel off the bottom of the sea floor, I can do that. I'm pretty confident in making a spear and spear fishing. When it comes to purifying water or finding water, gypsy wells are my go-to. You put me anywhere in the world, I'm gonna be able to find out exactly where I am and where I need to go, where I need to find water or find high ground. I think the toughest challenge and situation I've ever been in is when I was doing a 3,600 mile triathlon across the United States. Like I said, I fought a shark. I got hit by a car on day 2 of the bike. I broke my foot, pulled a tendon in my other foot, and then got life-threatening staph infection, all from my crotch down to my knees. When I face adversity, I bite down and dig deep and just keep going. To me, the reason why I would never tap out is why waste my time to come here just to quit? The more you say it can't be done, I'm gonna make it even more so, just to prove you wrong.
I love cooking primitively and on primitive surfaces. It adds a really nice charcoal smoky flavor to your food. The smoke helps preserve your food. I will be cooking all over the place on Naked and Afraid, keeping everybody fed, and you do want my smoke. Naked and Afraid, I'm bringing this knife with me. I'm cutting stuff up. I may be naked out there, but I will not be afraid. I'm very passionate about, building things, helping other people learn to do things. I love teaching other people things and sharing my skills. I build things with my hands because I am exceptionally good at designing things. I do make my own knives. I love blacksmithing, anything, metal related, really. This is a Japanese kunai knife that I've made that I'll be bringing with me. I just need to put some grips on that. And this is going to be really handy for taking down small trees, processing materials, breaking up reeds to make cordage out of. And I can also, cut up small and large game with this. Going out into the woods for a period of time has been something I've wanted to do. I want to see what my limits are. I find that I'm very good at being miserable. And so I want to see myself through. This would probably be the most miserable thing I've ever experienced. Let's see what happens. I am a perfectionist. I'd love to say I've never let myself down, but that would be a lie. Business, customers, relationships, even with family, I've made mistakes. I struggled growing up. It took me a few years as an adult on my own, starving, sleeping in my car sometimes to learn how to appreciate things and to appreciate things that people give you. I think that everybody belongs outdoors. You may typically find that there are more white folks doing outdoor stuff, but everybody should be able to enjoy everything, and everybody should know how to grow their own food and become self-sufficient on their own. My strongest outdoor skills are definitely shelter building and making my own tools. I think I will excel in creating us sturdy, reliable, dry shelter that will also radiate heat to keep us warm. I am capable of making all the tools. I actually prefer a hand drill to a bow drill. I just find it easier to control. I've got a few different plans as far as food contributions go. My number 1 plan is going to be setting up trap lines. Without the use of twine, I will have to make cordage to fish with, and also to make a net with very small holes to catch fish. And one other thing I'm very excited about is make shoes. They will be Malik 9s and they will last a long time. I will not tap out on this challenge because I do not give up, and I will have to be hypothermic or starving to go home. As a kid, I was always afraid to try new things, new foods, and afraid of heights. I think I just got tired of being afraid of things, and so now I've become a person that is not afraid to try new things. I'm not afraid to get way up high. I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, honestly. Let's go, let's get it.
Why do I want to do Naked and Afraid? It's not really to prove to myself, it's more to go on an awesome adventure and be part of an awesome community of really badass people. Well, if I had a partner that was going to quit, there's a saying on the trail is never quit on a rainy day, never quit when you're hungry, and never quit on an uphill. So it's always raining, you're always hungry, and it's always uphill. So just don't quit. So I got the primitive skills I have from basically just being fascinated by the idea of being able to survive on your own. So whether it be starting fire or making traps or something like that, or building shelters, I just think it's really cool. I'm confident I can survive the 21 days because I've hiked almost 5,000 miles and haven't given up yet. So I'm definitely good at plant identification and things like that, like foraging for mushrooms. I've made cordage before, out there on the show. You know, I want to thrive, not just survive, so hopefully by the end of it I'll be like Swiss Family Robinson. I love testing my limits, you know, that's proven with all the long distance hiking I've done. And, you know, if I meet some really cool people out there, I see no reason why I wouldn't be friends for life with these people.
A lot of people have a resume. Well, I like to carry mine with me, so I have it on my arm here. I have my film career, my oil rig patch career, and my firefighting career. To be added would be my carpentry career. And don't ask me where my cover letter is. Man, I'd tell you what's going wrong with the world today is all this social media and thumb gangsters and technology. I think people should be a lot more accountable for what they say. I always enjoyed holding people accountable and or being held accountable for things I may have said or have done. And it keeps people a little more sharp between the eyes on focus, I think. The animal most like is a bee, you know, busy as a bee. My friends, they give me crap about not being able to sit down with them for majority of their visit because of my energy levels. I need to always be doing something or standing up. Our family, we've been outside our entire lives, from hunting and fishing from as early as I can remember. And I try to instill these same traits on my family now with my kids. I have a beautiful wife and 3 healthy kids, a 4-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old boy, and a 10-year-old boy. We do our annual moose hunting trip. We make sure to do the bird hunting. We fish all year round. We just had a campfire the other day. We have a massive garden in which all the kids have their own row to grow and learn. I was a forest firefighter. That was a challenge where you're in the environment for 19 days at a time. I worked up in the oil patch for about 2.5 years, doing heavy industrial construction, intense elements, very cold, long winters, dry, hot summers. My skills would put on my father in our youth, and then trial and error. And I did some training courses through work. I hope to get food on this challenge and get fed by having the ability to snare. The key to setting a good, effective snare is to find your game trails. I have made fires with hand drills, friction fires. The key to a hand drill is dedication and consistency. I've built many shelters, lean-tos, all seasons, including winter, raised beds, just being off the ground. My other skills are the ability to locate water and purify. My physical state is going to be a negative impact in my challenge, I think, because I am at a high level of fitness. I have a very low fat count and a very high metabolism. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a challenge because I need my food, but we can go 21 days without it. Mental toughness is the main ingredient to being successful on this challenge. If you let your mind take control, it brings out the sensitive side in you. So I think, staying busy, keeping your mind productive, and focused on what it is you're there to do is all you focus on, because it's too easy to dwell on what you don't have or what you're missing or how tough it is. That's what we're signing up for. We're signing up for hell. Naked and Afraid. This is what it's all about. I mean, this is why I'm here. I live and breathe being outside. Being out here on this challenge would be absolutely amazing for my kids to see their dad do this and accomplish it, to show them hard times are only as much as you think they're hard. It's just a mental game. Get on with it. Let's go.
I'm training 3 times a day, so I'm going for a run in the morning. After I do that, I'm heading down to the kayak club to hit that kayak machine and grind out for a little bit. Leaving there, going downtown again to the gym to go make sure I get my swell on. Why? Because I go 150%. I push myself. I give it all I have. I'm a naturalist, so I work in the park system in New York. As a kayak guide, I am the director of the Hudson River Riders. It's a free kayaking program. We just provide access to the river. I help get people out there on the water. I'm a very passionate dude. I love to go downtown and help people start small gardens. That's something inside of my heart. Love for food, love for the earth. I've lived a quite interesting life, a quite challenging life. My father kicked my mother out when she was 6 months pregnant with me. One way or another, she had to survive and made sure I got here today. By the time I was 6 years old, my mother left and went to America to start a better life, to bring me here. I never saw my mother again for 7 years. I'm growing up in the streets and in the country in Jamaica. I'm hunting birds with slingshots. I'm going to the spring, walking a mile to get my own water, carrying it on my head. I feel like I am this challenge, you know what I mean? I feel like after everything I've gone through, why not this challenge? This will be the first time I'm going to throw myself into something and say, use all that you got, all that energy you've built up, all that instinct that you have inside of you, and put it to good use. My skills come from growing up. 3 meals a day when I was a kid was from a wood fire. Who was making the fire? Me, every day, because my grandpa and my uncle told me, go get the wood, that's your job. There's nothing like trying to make a fire with a bow drill. I built a lot of teepees, bamboo shelter, banana leaf shelter as well. I definitely can pick up stones. I can shave stones down. I can throw stones very well. I can actually break a branch from a tree, rub it down and shape it up and sharpen it, make it really sharp and go stab fish in the water. We use bamboos to make fish traps. I can make cordage as well on a rope. Mental toughness is very important on this challenge. If I didn't take care of myself when I was younger, I definitely wouldn't be here right now. The Rasta community is where that fire comes from inside of me. You know, historically, Rasta people always been discriminated against. And because of that, it just put an edge inside of me. Our philosophy is built upon love. It's built upon honesty. It's built upon sharing what we have with each other and uplifting the people. There's no reason for me to tap out. Why would I give up when I sign up for this? I'm going to push myself to the ultimate limit. I'm ready for you, Naked and Afraid. I'm very ready for you.
I can smell snakes. I can smell snakes from hundreds of feet away sometimes. They've got a very musty smell. It's a very distinct smell that when I smell that, I know there's one nearby. I've just got to follow that scent and it will lead me to my prey. So when I smell one, I'm going for it. I want to see it. I want to hold it. I want to handle that snake. I just love snakes. I am definitely a troglodyte. My nickname is Troglodyte. I'm what I call a primitive caver. I go in and explore caves. I'm looking for the newest frontier. There's times where I am the very first human being to ever step foot into parts of this earth. And that to me drives me wild. The cave that I am currently focused on, it's the Binkley Cave system. It's the 7th longest cave in the United States. When I first started caving in that system 12 years ago, we were at 29 miles in length. In just a few short years, we're now up to 45 miles in length. In the wild, when I'm out in nature, I know that I can take care of myself. I'm a firm believer that only the strong should survive. I've been fascinated with primitive survival for many years. My goal is to prove to myself that all these years of training and practicing primitive survival has not been wasted time. You know, when the shit hits the fan, I'm going to be the guy that people are coming to for help. I'm going to be the guy that's surviving and thriving while everybody else is falling to their knees. Sumac tea. Now this isn't to drink. This is simply to pour over the top of an open wound, just to clean it, and it's antiseptic. I learned most of my primitive survival skills firsthand. It's mostly just theory and practice. I strengthened a lot of my skills using YouTube, and also learning some of the techniques I didn't already know or hadn't even heard of. Here I've got some cordage that I made using the inner bark of a poplar tree. That will burn for roughly 3 hours. I can use that to transfer fire, carry fire from one camp to another. I can do a hand drill with the proper material, about 30 seconds. I can do a bow drill in about 30 seconds. I can use flint and steel. I can use chert by just smacking those rocks together and getting a tiny little spark. I build debris shelters. My favorite debris shelter is called a cocoon. It's basically an arched tunnel. It's supposed to fit one person. I build them for 2. I mostly do foraging for my food. I find that food that is not alive is a whole lot easier to catch. Birch polypore, one of my favorite mushrooms on earth. It's not only nutritionally beneficial, but I use it mostly to boost my immune system. Because of the sense of smell that I've got, it's going to help me to track down prey just by smelling the air. I also use just a hand spear and rocks, whatever's available. I have actually taken down rabbits using just a rock, knocking it out. I've done the same with a spear. I know how to filter water. I also know how to dig gypsy wells, be able to identify a clean source of water. When I face adversity in life, I assess the situation, see what it's going to take to get out of that situation, and go for it. The single most traumatic situation I've ever been in a cave was going in 7 hours from the nearest entrance. We're in a belly crawl with our backs against the ceiling and our chests against the floor, and all of a sudden I see water rushing in to what was a dry passage just seconds earlier. Being trapped in a cave for 39 hours, you've got to be patient. You have to, and you can't have no in your heart, or you will not survive. In real world survival, if you quit, you die. Naked and afraid, give me my shot. I am a caveman. I will catch the snakes. I will catch the food. I will forage the food. I will build a shelter out of a cave. Throw me somewhere with some limestone and I'll show you what I got.
With a deadfall, you know it worked because the rock is flat and underneath it is a little rodent pizza. But with the snares, you're going to hear, right? It'll be that fast. I wouldn't say snap, crackle, pop, more of a quick pop. And sometimes it decapitates the animal if you do it right. My sacred fire is my family, our community, ancestral skills connecting people back to nature to be carried forward after I'm gone to the next generations. People give me a hard time because here I am honing and refining skills and awareness and tracking and wilderness survival, and then I can't find my car keys. The thing about working primitive skills is it doesn't cure ADHD, it actually enhances it. You're supposed to be able to notice the subtleties of movement in the shadows. When I'm in the real and natural world, I enter a flow, and your antenna array is open to intuitive sensory perception and hear the distant waterfall, and at the same time the direction change of the wind on your flesh. The folks I don't understand are the folks who hold on to the very injuries or limitations that they fuel in themselves to prevent the growth that they so eagerly quest for. If I get a partner that brings all kinds of aggression into the woods, I'm gonna let the earth beat them up a little bit. I'll ask if they need assistance when the time comes. The reason I'm attracted to Naked and Afraid, with me as a mid-50-year-old, I want to know that what I've been sharing, I've been carrying responsibly, and what greater test before my body can't write those checks anymore. I teach primitive survival skills because I find joy in watching people realize they could provide for themselves in a manner that not only benefits them, but benefits the landscape. I stand on the shoulders of giants, preserving what they've taught. From Tom Brown Jr. and a lineage going to the Northern Lipan Apache, to going to Sweden and studying above the Arctic Circle with the Sami. The ability to read the landscape, having a routine for developing shelter, locating water, creating water containers and purifying water. About everything that deals with fire. Before any food is considered, I'm building a shelter, collecting water, and the whole time I'm looking for where am I going to put traps and snares. I won't know what that approach is until I read the flora and fauna and the tracks and the sign. Confident with bows, slings, throwing spears, gill nets. My favorite deadfall is the Paiute. Hand drill is the way to go, and I love awareness and tracking skills. It's not about being mentally tough, it's about being more of a jiu-jitsu master with those thoughts that would come in that would disable you. There's always a creative solution, so there's a degree of endurance. If you don't make it fun, then find a way to creatively express your rage so that it gives you more firewood or makes your shelter more fluffy and more watertight. I would never tap out on this option because I'm carrying a lot of important things with me, and those things are the skills of our ancestors. Naked and Afraid. It's time to have a responsible storyteller with 35 years of dirt time come onto this show and share with passion and humility the skills that they were handed to pass along. Let's do this.
It drives me crazy, the men that will leave them over the stupidest things. I'm like, why are you leaving? You'll be fine. Just hang in. At least hang in for your partner. Like, that part drives me nuts too. I can't stand men that are not men. I'm deeply emotional. I'm definitely a motherly figure, very connected to Mother Earth, my family, my animals. I'm able to completely empty myself to be very, very present. I'm also very adventurous and like to do kind of the crazy stuff in the group. The one like, let's go do this. My biggest motivation for this actually is other women. To prove that if I can do this, you can do this too. Genuinely love people, and then I can't stand people sometimes. I'm like, you're so fucking stupid. People do suck. That's why I have to go to the woods all the time with my dogs. Something surprising that people don't typically know about me. I love to watch sci-fi movies, Star Wars, Star Trek, that nerdy side of me. My son, he's 14 now, and he is such a little survivor man. It's something I connect with him on. Do lots of fire building together and just lots of hikes and shelters. He loves to make shelters. My favorite methods of shelter building would be a lean-to, find an area where there's already a tree that, to shelter underneath. I have built a couple shelters where they're up off the ground. My favorite ways of building fire, bow drill. It's like the coolest feeling. You're like, I made fire. I did this on my own, rubbing two sticks together. I can set up traps, figure 4 deadfalls and snare traps. I've made my own knives before out of rocks. I made my own bow and arrow, weave together my own cordage. I know how to forage pretty well. The naked aspect of this challenge, I went in and got a spray tan and I had to be completely naked in front of her, and I was like, this is kind of awkward. I guess I've never really just stripped down in front of somebody and stood there. Can't get any more vulnerable. And I love that kind of stuff. I'm like in this space in my journey where I'm okay with meeting another man in the woods naked. So I'm like, I'm okay with this. So put me with this really hunky buff dude that's super hot and single. Mental strength, I believe, is everything. Even though it's beautiful and I love every trial that's brought me here, there has been a lot of hard stuff that I've gone through. I lost my mom in my early 20s, and I had just become close to her because my childhood, I was not real close to her. That really shook my world. I really had to dig deep on that one and keep myself grounded. Why do I know I'm going to stick it out? 1, I'm extremely stubborn, and 2, I deeply know myself. I have done the hard work over the years to really tap into who I am at the core, and I don't give up. And to prove to the world, like to other women, that you can do this too.
My friends often dislike the loudness of my personality, and that can be by joking, that can be via physical performance, and sometimes my friends aren't ready for me to put on the show. I've often been described as irresponsible, and my camera just fell over. I enjoy dangerous activity because I ride a motorcycle everywhere I go. I wouldn't say I'm a delinquent, but I definitely have broken more rules. Even something as mundane as touching a sign that says don't touch it. Sometimes I do that just because it makes me happy. I do believe that it takes a dangerous person to be able to survive for 21 days in your birthday suit. So being in that fight or flight mode, I believe is going to help me complete this challenge. The Naked and Afraid challenge excites me because building our mini civilization for what will be 3 weeks, I'm looking forward to that. I think a nightmare partner would be someone who was not embracing the team aspect of this challenge. Anyone who's not able to communicate clearly and show a willingness to work together can pretty quickly sniff out who I vibe with and who I don't. I don't put myself around people who I dislike. I don't like people who are full of themselves. I don't like people who are overly confident. I do believe that this is a challenge that's going to require strength, and I'm not there to be anyone's therapist. The reason that I enjoy the outdoors is a disconnect from modern society, and having that disconnect where I can get off my phone and live as a mammal awakens me. I developed my primitive and outdoor skills over a lifetime of enjoying the outdoors and spending time in the woods, spending time in nature. And in doing so, I've developed skills that allow me to thrive on it. Backpacking in Thailand and Vietnam, motorcycled the Ha Giang Loop, I've spearfished the Caribbean, I've hunted the Florida swamps. With a blade and a long stick, I can get some fish killed. More than likely, I'd be looking to make a lean-to. I can have one up relatively quickly. That's not difficult at all. I've made a primitive trap once. I can definitely fish. More than likely would choose a knife, and I could definitely lash that to the end of a pole and pull off spearfishing without an issue. I'm willing and able to eat snakes. I've eaten bugs. I'm very confident making a fire with flint. Naked and Afraid, I know that I'm the man to complete this challenge. I have the skill set, I have the mental fortitude, I have the physical ability to make this happen, to survive in the woods with nothing, to cry when need be, to muster the strength to keep going forward, Quit is not an option in me. I want the opportunity to go out there, to take on the jungle, take on the plain, take on the forest, and emerge victorious 21 days later.
I guess ticks really love me or something. I was on a long hike and it was summertime. Mosquitoes were really, really bad. And I came home, I had 40 tick bites on my right butt cheek. I will never forget it. It hurt so bad, but them ticks like the juicy booty. My sense of humor is a little dark. The girls at work think I'm absolutely crazy. They never know what comes out of my mouth. What really pisses me off and grinds my gears is when a man tries to tell me what to do or belittle me. Just because I'm a girl and I wear makeup doesn't make me any less of a person. I am still outdoorsy. They call me Nature Baby. That's my nickname at work. When I was 12, I got my hunter safety course. I went deer hunting with my dad a lot. I've been dove hunting, hog hunting, and I am able to track game and skin it. I look like a total savage when I am processing, skinning an animal. I am not afraid to get my hands dirty, bloody, gory. I will reach my hand up inside of an animal and rip the gut straight out. I'm always outside in the woods foraging for mushrooms. I love to find edible plants. I'm big on wildcrafting. I will make tinctures and salves out of stuff. My dad was a huge influence on me growing up. He was a primitive wilderness survival expert. I always watched him build traps and set snares. He taught me various ways of building fire. Some other skills that I have are foraging. I love to go out and find wild edibles. I also am big in archery. Fishing, I'm a very good fisher woman. I'm also not afraid of bugs. I am able to pick up lizards. I'm not afraid of snakes. I will pick up a snake and chop it and roast it over the fire. When I was 12 years old, I became a certified open water scuba diver. At 16, I took my advanced open water certification, and at 18, I got cavern certified. So I am a very, very strong swimmer. Throw me out into the ocean, a lake, a pond, and I am getting to extraction. Going into this challenge, it's all about mindset. You cannot allow yourself to be defeated by fear, hunger, or discomfort. As a single mom, it's very hard for me. I have 2 daughters of my own. I know the importance of showing them what it's like to be strong. No matter how hard something can be in life, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how hungry, tired, sleepy, you can get through it. And they know I'm going to provide for them. I'm going to take care of them. I will find a way, no matter how hard, no matter how much financially it will be, I will always be the provider for my girls. Things won't go perfect on this challenge, and that's okay. I feel like I'm gonna do a lot of things I've never done before. I'm gonna be pushed to my absolute limit, and I'm excited. I'm not gonna give up on this challenge. I am very, very tough. I know that I have what it takes. Naked and afraid. I got this. Send me out there. Let me show you what I got.
Most people are animal-bodied humans because I believe that we're animals. And for me, I feel really in touch with that. I crave to be like, or like, kind of what appears like being unhinged. I went to Georgia Tech and wanted to become an engineer. And I was living in the city and was like very clear that that wasn't the right thing. So I went on this big soul-searching experience, and I started searching for things that actually brought me a lot of joy and pleasure instead of the things that I thought I needed to do to prove that I was worthy of joy and pleasure. Also, I love being in nature, and like, yeah, I would love to like experience fasting for 21 days and like let's explore breath work or like do weird stuff. Things that I do every day, I would love to bring into the woods and experiment. And I want to play with it and experience what that would feel like if I got to be raw and like somatically animalistic in a space. Yeah, I mean, there are many people who try to dominate nature, and there's a lot of anger and grief and sadness around that because it feels like injustice. I think that I generally need to work with people who are pretty tolerant because I have a pretty large personality. People can underestimate my intelligence and actually how smart I actually am and quick. I learned a ton when I started going to Earth Skills Gathering and learned a lot. I like killed my first animal, learned how to skin and tan. I view killing animals as like a deeply spiritual and important experience. Again, I feel like my body would become this like animal searching for food. When it comes to water, like I feel very confident in my ability to find running water, listening to the landscape. In terms of building shelter, I can make an A-frame shelter, a lean-to shelter. Some of my other skills, I've got ability to make cordage, got some foraging knowledge, different medicines, some like spit palpuses, things like that. Oh, I just love being naked. It's been a really connective experience to like put my body on the ground, experience pleasure and joy from being naked. I mean, I've had some accidents with cactuses when I was naked. I've had some hard experiences in the woods. And so the reason I wouldn't tap is like, cause I know I've done harder things. Yeah, I'm gonna bring joy. I'm gonna bring creativity and play. And like pleasure, like as much pleasure as I can find. Not just sexual pleasure, but just like the joy of being in the woods or like being in nature and being in a place I've never been before. Like that's what gets us through adversity in general, is like the joy, the pleasure, the creativity. We'll see.
My younger brother was on Naked and Afraid. He ended up tapping. What separates me from my brother and many others is my hard attitude. I have intentions of showing Naked and Afraid I can get through this 21 days with or without somebody. I'm not going anywhere. My family and friends would describe me as someone who's pretty regimented. I work as a firefighter, and that sense of drive when it comes to helping others. Before I became a firefighter, I was in the military 10 years. I was tested, especially out on operational missions. My secret weapon out there is a strong mind with a never quit attitude. I was married once. My wife left me and also left all 3 children with me. So I've been raising my 3 girls on my own. I would say that's one of my toughest experiences yet. I don't quit. I've never quit a challenge, but I plan on taking care of myself, having the help of my partner and I persevere and get through this. I've been longing to be pushed body and mind for quite a few years now. And after seeing my brother do Naked and Afraid, what better way than to test your body and mind? I like to be challenged. I like to be punched in the face and be told, you can't do it. And that's all the drive I need. Who would be my night near partner on this challenge? I think with someone who is unable to take a negative situation and reflect it in a positive way. I am a prepper. I always take a second to kind of visualize on what's to be expected. I consider myself pretty good when it comes to hunting on land or fishing in the water. I'd like to make some kind of trap where we're gonna catch an abundance of fish, turtles, or whatever at the same time. Making my Ojibwe bird snares, sling snares, box drops I like to do, or log drop. So I've worked with bow drills to start fires. Certain shelters I've built, lean-tos, quinzies, A-frames, trench forts. I've slept in snow caves. Naked and Afraid. I've been longing for a challenge. What better way than to compete with body and mind, both at the same times? All your enemies of survival, cold, pain, loneliness, boredom, thirst, hunger. I've been through it all. And to step off that plane and be slapped with all of these enemies at one time, I say bring it on. I've been looking forward to something like this for years. What better time now than on this show, Naked and Afraid?
100% believe I'd bring a Stever when type spirit. When I see an animal, I get excited. If we make camp next to the local crocodile, you can bet I'm gonna eat it. The craziest thing that's ever happened to me though, working with crocodilians, is I was putting a radio tracker on one, 9-foot+ male, and he took off with me on his back. So I basically rode a crocodile for a few feet. Khaleesi would have had a battle on her hands if she went against me, and Speed Bump was his nickname. I work with crocodiles, alligators. I'm by far a badass in my mind. If I know what I want, I go for it. There's nothing you could ask me to do that I wouldn't probably do. Naked and Afraid for me, I honestly do feel like I'm in a rut in my life right now. And I fell for somebody I've known my entire life. We split for a while. They got into a relationship with someone else and had a baby. I really think the change in pace, it'll give me time to reevaluate. And It's similar to what I've done in the past, like with wildlife, but I've never been out there purely for the survival aspect of it. My outdoor skills purely came from just being in the outdoors. My dad taught me archery, Belize, and like field work, taught me how to live in the field because I was living with rangers who knew how. The most important thing when it comes to survival is patience. If you lose your shit, everything's going downhill. When it comes to gathering food, I guarantee you, if there's anything out there, I'll catch it. Even if I have to do insects. I can ID tracks. I've also got my trapping license. I've learned how to snare, set up deadfall traps, pitfall traps. I'm feeling pretty confident with my bow drill skills. I can build an A-frame. I can build a lean-to. I think I'm mentally tough, unless you're gonna bring up my ex-girlfriend. It's definitely tough not getting to see the person that I've known my whole life. How do I get through that? The universe will bring whatever I deserve to me. Oh, I'm just too damn stubborn to tap out. Naked and afraid. I haven't met a challenge that I've backed down from yet. I don't think I'm gonna back from this one.
I am a huge fan of Naked and Afraid. I've been addicted for years. This challenge is my ultimate goal. If I can do this and survive 21 days, my life's going to be satisfied. I do my job from home, but I do talk to a lot of idiots. And luckily we have a mute button on our phones. If I'm out there in the wild with my partner and they're going on about something that might be their fault or is out of our control, I might wish I had that mute button. My friends, they would describe me as kind of crazy. I'm always out there starting fires, building shelters, drinking some water that might be questionable, eating some bugs. My little sisters especially, they'll see a grasshopper and they dare me to eat it, and it's no problem for me. I am mentally tough. I know this challenge will be tough, but it's not going to be the toughest challenge I ever faced. My car accident, my friend, she went off the road going about 60 miles an hour into the woods, and I flew out the side of the car. I broke my jaw, broke my neck, cracked my skull, broke my femur, ended up losing my memory, had to be resuscitated on the way to the hospital. The recovery, it took forever. Couldn't do anything because of my broke neck, my broke leg. I had double vision with my eyes pointing in opposite directions. It took forever to train myself to see again and to be up and back on my feet. So I moved from Florida last year. I lived there for 35 years. Now I'm in a tiny town in Alabama with about 4,000 people. There's lots of waterfalls, trails to hike, and that's what I moved for, and that's what I got. Yeah, so as far as the ladies go, it's very slim pickings here. I've been on the prowl. If I could meet the love of my life on Naked and Afraid, I would totally be down for that. I want somebody who's fun, who is adventurous, who enjoys the same things that I enjoy. I can't stand people who nitpick, who are micromanagers, always telling you how to do something. There are many ways to do something, and you're not always right. But people who think that their way is the only way, those are the people who piss me off. I've just been practicing my skills. I have taken some courses with professionals, one with EJ Snyder and other survivalists from Naked and Afraid, but most of what I've learned, it has been self-taught. The first skill I ever learned was bow drill fire. I've also learned how to do bamboo fire saw. It's my favorite method of making a fire. For shelters, the go-to method I usually do is the brush shelter. I also do A-frame shelters and lean-tos. When I do the debris shelter, I pile the debris very high, probably about at least 3 feet. One of my hobbies whenever I'm outside is finding waterfalls. I look for different canyons. I follow the slopes of the land. Boiling water is very important to purify. Big bubbles, little troubles. I can set different traps. I've made a snare trap. I can do deadfall traps like the figure 4 or the Siberian deadfall trap. I do know how to make different hunting tools. Throwing sticks, spears. I made a bow and arrow before. I know how to track animals following their prints. One of my favorite bushcraft skills I have is making cordage. Cordage is very beneficial. I can make a quick fish basket, fill in the gaps with pieces of brush. I can also make some clay pots. I have worked on toughening up my feet. I want them to be as strong as they can be while I'm out there. If I'm in an area, though, that's too hot or too thorny, then I'm not opposed to making shoes. When things get difficult, I like to look at end goals. My motivation is that I know there's something better on the other side. I definitely don't see myself as that person who's going to tap out because they're cold or they're hungry. My mental game is too strong. This challenge will kick my ass, but I'm also going to kick this challenge's ass. Naked and Afraid, I'm John. I'm strong. I'm mentally fit. I've got the skills, and I'm coming for you.
I don't understand why people don't make shoes from the get-go. I do not understand why people who are in wet environments do not save some dry tinder for the next day. And I don't understand why people don't hunt more. You're hungry. Go look for food. Do people even watch the show? I feel like they don't even know what they're doing. I love being a Naked and Afraid podcaster. Every week we talk about the show. Normally when I see people cuddle, they usually keep their bags on. They had no bags on. His blur was right next to her blur. Where were the bags? That's what I want to know. Because every time, it's like when they got home, like, hey, honey, I'm home from collecting firewood. Let me take off the bag. I talk to a lot of people that have actually done the show. And when I tell them, why didn't you do this? And they're like, you're right. Because I watched the show, I've learned the show, and I've learned from other people's mistakes. My least favorite contestant on the show was Sam. She should not have been out there. You shouldn't go on the show unless you're ready to handle the challenge. For some reason, everybody thinks that I'm really into myself. I'm not. Don't let all this fool you. Where I'm from, there's not even a Walmart. I live in the country, so I have to cut down my own trees. I have to burn my own trash. People are always surprised that in my real life paying job that I'm in the water industry. That means I get down and dirty in dirt, water meter holes, septic system holes. It's stinky, it's hot, and it's a little dangerous. I love my 2 kids. They're my heart. They're my whole world. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this is to show them that you can do anything that you truly believe. I love cocky people, and guess what? I'm cocky too, and I want to go out there and prove to everybody, yes, I talk a big game, but I can also back up everything because I come from a long line of fighters. My grandpa was in war. He got 2 Purple Hearts, and he talked to me about being strong and the mental game that it took for him to survive. Every single time I'm in the woods, I'm looking for great places for shelters. I can make a shelter that is waterproof and above water so it does not flood. And of course, I can make a boma. The way that I'm going to get food is my number 1 skill, which is fishing. And then first thing I'm going to do is get a stick with a Y at the bottom. So if I see a snake, I'm ready. I love teaching my kids that you can put some water in our front yard and put a little trap over it and catch frogs. And I also love catching crickets. I've made fire with the fire starter. To keep a fire going, you need 3 times more wood than you think you need, and then double it. I was always the one that looked different from the rest of my family, or the people who didn't want to hang out with me because I wasn't dark enough or because I was too light. I know that you have to have a tough skin to get out there. And I want to go out there and prove that your mental toughness is what you need to survive. What a lot of people don't know about me is that my real birth mother literally abandoned me in an apartment. That was something I've struggled with. Like, I've never been good enough. I've never been enough. Like, why didn't she love me? Why didn't she want me? And it taught me that, you know what? Babies are innocent. If she didn't want me, there's something wrong with her. And one day I just realized after I had my kids, like, I'm worthy. I'm worthy of everything, even if my mom didn't want me. I wouldn't tap out on this challenge because I want my kids to see that it doesn't matter how hard things get. It doesn't matter, what other people think of you. I'm not tapping out because I want my kids to know that I'm not a quitter. Naked and Afraid. Put me out there. Let me show that I can do what people who are real survivalists haven't been able to do. And I can prove that I can do it just from the things I've seen by watching on my couch. It's time to show everybody that just because you're at home watching doesn't mean you don't have skills.
I have the heart to do this, the drive, and the well-being. The first chapter of Omar's book would say, don't even trip, because we got it. I was born in the Virgin Islands. When I was 3 years old, I went through a Hurricane Hugo, and I've lived in Utah on a farm ever since. I actually am a very opinionated person. Your first glimpse of me, I'm pierced up, I'm a large African-American guy. You don't expect me to be as outspoken and well-versed as I am. I'm good at just about everything I want to be. I played college football at Dixie State for 2 years, and I took defensive MVP. I led the league in sacks. I am that guy. I'm the guy that people call on to do stuff, and I love being the guy that comes through for somebody else. I want to do this challenge just because I am a very confident person, but I feel like this challenge is so hard that it's going to put me out of my confident comfort zone and really test me to see if, am I the guy that people lean on and be clutch? I feel like I am, but we're really going to find out. We grew up on a 50-acre farm. My dad was huge on scouting. I'm an Eagle Scout as well. When I got my Wilderness Survival Merit Badge, after that it was a wrap. I wanted to learn as much primitive survival as I could. We've always grown up around that. Camping, hunting, that's what we do. And I fish a lot. That's my passion. I can build any shelter, like the lean-to or the teepee, where you can put your fire inside of the shelter. I'm going to be able to build a shelter that's going to keep us warm in the night, but also fend off the predators. When it comes to fire, bow drill's probably my go-to. I really like snare stuff. I'm gonna spearfish. I do love the atlatl, and I can make one. Mental toughness is everything in this. Being thrown into the life I was thrown into, being adopted at such a young age to a predominantly white area, I was already put in that spotlight, and I was already had that pressure, so that pressure has just built to me becoming the guy that everybody can count on. I have too much pride to tap out on this challenge. I want this so bad that I will not just break down. Naked and afraid, I am so ready for this challenge. Yeah, buddy, let's do this. I'm ready to go. Don't even trip, because I got it.
All my life I've been active, whether it's been by football, skiing, hunting, fishing. I've always used my body in some sort of ways. When I started doing kickboxing, I just gave it 110%, and after 1 year of training, I entered my first competition and became a national champion. Well, when I'm in the kickboxing ring or on the kickboxing mats, I usually like to look at my opponent and try to take his soul. I got 100% Viking blood in me. One of my grandfathers, he is a great hunter and fisher, and they were ruthless people. They lived in harsh environments. They had to fight for food on their table. The thing about kickboxing is that it puts you in like a place of discomfort. So you're always challenged. If you're not focused 100%, you're gonna get hit in the face. From being in a place of discomfort, you really get to test your own mentality and the way your body works. And being on Naked and Afraid, I'm going out there on this challenge to survive. I got Viking blood. I will survive this. I will thrive. Yeah, I can't stand people without a spine. Let's be honest, they're pretty weak mentally. And that's because of all the social media and every comfort that they live with. I'm really confident that I can complete the 21 days because of my mental toughness. Pretty much since I was 14, I've had to struggle with this pelvic problem of mine, which has put me in a lot of pain. So I just made pain an ally instead of an opponent. All my life, since I was a little boy, I've been in the outdoors, whether it's by hunting, fishing, or just hiking a mountain, going far on skis. I was made to be in nature. I was made for a challenge like this. I'm going to do everything to get food in this challenge. Let's say there's a crocodile, I'll jump straight on it and stab his head with my axe or knife. I don't care, I just need food. I can make spears, I can make a bow drill. I know how to make primitive fire. Well, the key to keeping a fire going is that you need a lot of firewood. And not only just any kind of firewood, it needs to be dry. My goal for my shelter is a frame shelter with a raised bed on it, waterproof. For me, it's really important to get energy. To get nutrition in my body. It's gonna be the main factor to survival in this challenge. And if it crawls or if it breeds, I'm going to eat it. With an axe, I can do a lot of damage. I can make tools, I can make spears, I can make bows, arrows. The axe is for protection against bigger wild games. I'll stand up to anything. I know that I can do this challenge and I'm going to do everything I can to complete it. I'm not the type of person that gives up. I want to keep this life going because I have a vision that my ancestors are kind of watching me and I don't want to embarrass them. Naked and Afraid, I'm bringing my axe, I'm bringing my smile, and I'm bringing my awesomeness. I'm really excited to do this challenge. I'm a real Viking and I know I got the skills to thrive and survive in this challenge.
Hola, I'm Fernanda from Mexico and I want to be on Naked and Afraid because, first of all, I have experience in the wild. I'm a biologist and an adventurer here in the Sonoran Desert. I've been practicing outdoor sports for almost 15 years. Trekking in the desert, mountaineering, canyoneering, hunting, fishing, a lot of stuff. Also, I participated on Naked and Afraid Latin America in the first season and lasted for 21 days. So I already have a medal on me. And I was on Dual Survival Mexico, being the first woman to participate on that show. So I have plenty of skills and experience, and I'm very sure that I can make it here. I consider myself a great survivalist because I'm a multi-tool and I already proven myself that I am. I have physical strength, emotional resilience, experience, and a lot of survival skills. I think that I would be good, especially in designing systems and strategies to make our survival much more efficient. My biggest fear on the challenge would be that my body doesn't respond well to cold weather and starvation and just starts shutting down. That would be terrible because I know that I want to be there, but my body would not respond. So yeah, that would be terrible for me. My biggest fear on the challenge would be that my body doesn't respond well to cold weather and starvation and just starts shutting down. That would be terrible for me because I know that I want to be there and keep on going. But if my body doesn't respond, I don't want to be tapped out. Tapping out against my will would be the most terrible thing that could happen to me because I am not a quitter.